Hi, I'm Kyle, a tired therapist.
And I'm Jackie, also a tired therapist.
And together, we are
Two tired therapists. Welcome to the pod.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi, Jackie.
Hi, Kyle.
How you doing?
I'm good. How are you? The collective sigh.
How long do you have
I'm sure.
to talk about it?
As long as we feel necessary, really, because it's our podcast.
Because it's our podcast.
And not yours.
And not yours. Hi, Trixie. Hi, Katya.
Right?
Friends of the pod.
Yes,
Hi.
I know. Such big
We
fans.
wish. We wish.
I would die.
Ugh,
I would die.
would die.
100% die.
Would die.
Well,
It's a new day.
it is a new day. A new dawn, a new day.
A new dawn, new dollar.
Yeah, a new dollar. Yeah. Make me holler for $1.
Honey boo boo chow.
Oh my god, I never watched that show.
Oh, I did. It was.
I could.
Yeah.
I don't think I could ever bring myself to watch it. I mean, I've seen clips of it and I know what it is, but I could never
I did. Yeah.
watch it.
Exploiting a child. Oh, I love that. Are you kidding me?
The mom just got married recently,
Yeah, she's
but not
been
to the
through
person
it.
that was like controversy several years ago.
No. Yeah, and she like lost a bunch of weight and
Yeah,
I don't
she
know
was
about all
addicted to
that.
like meth for a while.
Well,
Yeah,
you know,
as you do.
as you do,
As you do,
as
as
one
somebody.
does. It happens.
Yeah.
It happens. Life.
There's some
guys.
judgment here.
You don't understand.
Yeah.
No. Well.
I just found it odd. Well, I don't want to say odd, but I found it a little weird that she nicknamed her kids all something kind of like food related ish. Not all of them, but like most. Like there was like pumpkin. There was honey boo boo. There was another one.
Well, they were,
Yeah.
hillbillies, which I can say that. I'm a hillbilly, so I can say that.
That's you won't get canceled for that. I would.
Well, no, there's a longer list of things that I can say that will get me canceled.
Right.
Don't you worry.
Angels on trees.
Angels on trees. We're still on it, Greg. We're still on it. Jesus.
Well, tell me, what are you tired of?
So speaking of being a hillbilly.
Oh, good.
This is something maybe you've experienced. Maybe this is a Midwest thing, or maybe this is just like, I don't know if everyone in the U.S. experiences this, but like the idea of like sexualizing kids and babies, but to the point of like, like it'll be a child, like a literal child, and people will be like, "Oh, is that your girlfriend? Oh, you have a little girlfriend." I just think that's we.
I feel
it's
like
so
it's a
tired.
universal thing.
Is it? Okay.
I feel like it's universal. It freaks me out too.
Yeah, I didn't know if it was like a small Midwest
like,
town thing.
Or like when like babies are literally babies. Some people are like, "Oh my god, he's gonna be such a heartbreaker."
Right, exactly.
Oh my god, she's gonna. Oh my god, all the boys.
Right.
And I'm like, that's so.
That
weird,
is so weird.
Baby.
That is so weird.
I don't like it either. I feel like that's a. I don't want to say it like this, but I'm going to.
Please.
It's almost like a generational thing.
Yes.
Because like I feel like
Yeah.
people of our generation don't really.
No, I would
say
never.
that.
No.
But people in older generations
Right.
than you and I will not divulge our birth years.
Right.
I feel like it's more. I don't know. I feel like that's older generation.
Or it's like it's like the baby's like smiling, a full on like 3-month-old smiling. They're like, oh, he's flirting with me. No, Greta, he's not.
No, Greta, he's
mirroring
he's
you because he's a baby. He can't even see. He's basically blind. He's basically a bat.
He's a potato.
He's basically using echolocation at this moment. Like, but it's so tired. We really got to stop. And then, or like, it's like kids, right? When they're in full on like 5-year-olds in kindergarten, they're like, oh, do you have a girlfriend? No, Marjorie, I'm 5. I pick my nose and eat it. Like, no, I don't have a girlfriend.
Yeah. When they're, I'm not as offended by that sometimes because I think it's kind of funny to be like, oh, you got a boyfriend, and then they're like, no, but it's a little odd. It's not my favorite.
It's not
to me.
the
It's
best.
less annoying than like the baby.
The baby thing is for sure.
But sometimes it can be funny.
We're done. Yeah. So very tired.
Tease
Yeah.
my cousins that way.
So that's me.
Okay.
Over here. What are you doing? What's going on over there?
I'm gonna say something that is
brave.
It's gonna
Oh, I love it.
and it's gonna put producer Justin on some blast.
Oh, please.
Do you know what I'm tired of?
Please.
Significant others or spouses or whatever you want to say who fall asleep during a movie and pretend like they stayed awake the whole time.
Oh no.
Or like pretend like they're not really sleeping. Justin and I watched a movie. It's almost been 2 months now, and Justin fell asleep in like the middle of it, and I didn't realize he was asleep. Shockingly, I mean, I kind of did like towards the end of the movie, and then when he woke up, he was like,
"Oh, what a great movie!"
Yeah, kind of. He was like, "Oh, I fell asleep," and I was like, I'm like, when did you fall asleep? And I started describing the movie. He fell asleep like almost in the beginning of the movie. He was the one who wanted to watch a movie that night. And it wasn't a bad movie either.
What movie was it? Do you remember?
It was on Netflix. It's Lady Chatterley's Lover. It was big on Netflix like around the holidays, like around December. It's a book. I want to read the book. I have not read the book.
It sounds pretty snoozeville.
It wasn't. There was a lot of sex scenes, like a lot.
And he fell asleep.
During the sex scene.
Oh my god. He's probably like boring.
It wasn't bad. There is full frontal male and female nudity.
Well, half of that we like.
Sure. And I don't know. I didn't think it was a bad movie. I want to read the book. The book was banned. Lady Chatterley's Lover. The book was banned for a long time, way back when it was written. I think it was written in the early 1900s because it was very smutty. There's a lot of sex scenes.
Sure.
It's the actor who plays Princess Diana in The Crown. Not in the most recent season, but the season before.
Okay.
Yeah. They're the lead. And then it's another British actor. I don't know the guy's name, but he was in Skins or some British show that's like about sex a lot. I don't know. Anyways, but I'm tired of spouses or significant others or whatever you want to call them falling asleep during movies. Producer Justin, that's for you.
Wow. Canceled.
Called
I think.
Out.
Wonder if Greg will have anything to say about that. Greg, phone in.
Yes.
Let us know.
Call us, please. He'll just text me. Well.
Wow.
This could be a really interesting episode. We have you and I have not discussed anything prior to recording, so what we discussed might be really interesting for everybody because we might have a full on debate. But we were DM'd. I won't say by who, but they'll know. We were DM'd by a fan who
probably our number one fan, right, I would say.
Right. We were DM'd by a fan to ask us to watch Silver Linings Playbook and give our opinion on Silver Linings Playbook, and we were like, let's do it.
Yeah, why not?
we're fans of the people.
I feel like it's different.
So Kyle and I have both watched it. Hilariously the day before we recorded this episode, so we have just recently watched it
hilariously and expectedly. Probably.
Yeah,
the night before.
There was no way I could watch it more than like a night
no I would have forgot.
So I have a little like synopsis.
Please,
I guess
and
you can read yours too if
I have
want.
well it was just the Hulu synopsis. I didn't make it up, so
which it's probably more concise and way easier than what I wrote. I wrote a literal essay.
Okay.
So
well hashtag spoilies.
Sure.
Let's put that out there now.
Yeah, 100%.
Because we're gonna spoilies.
Yes. Okay. It's a 2012 film. It stars Bradley Cooper, Jennifer Lawrence, Robert De Niro, and Jackie Weaver.
Icon Jackie Weaver.
Yeah,
let's
she's
talk
great.
about that.
I love Jackie Weaver. I don't feel like she's in so much, but also not enough.
She's in like all those obscure horror movies.
Yeah,
like that's where she's
She's on TV a lot too. I forget. She's on. Anyways, but I digress.
It's not just about Jackie Weaver.
Right. So having just spent 8 months in a psychiatric facility and diagnosed with bipolar disorder, Pat Solitano, who Bradley Cooper plays, is released and focused on getting back with his ex-wife, Nikki. His ex-wife has filed a restraining order on him after Pat caught her having an affair, and he beat her affair partner almost to death. He got them in the shower, having sex to their wedding song. Yeah. Mess. Just
messy.
Plain mess.
And we're just getting started.
Right.
Yeah.
So yes, she filed a restraining order. I assume they're divorced.
I don't think so.
But they don't actually clarify if
that's true. They
she
didn't.
Is or not.
Yeah.
If they are divorced. So Pat's mom, Denise, Dolores, she goes to the psychiatric facility, gets him released, which, spoiler alert, that's not really how it works.
Not how that works.
And so she gets him released, and he has to come home. He has to do therapy. He has to take meds.
Which he doesn't.
Right. He doesn't want to take his meds. But he does go to therapy with his therapist, Dr. Cliff Patel. Who
I would love to talk about later if we may.
Okay.
Okay, perfect.
I have a soft spot
I have a lot
for him.
I don't.
Oh, you don't? Okay,
so
great.
Perfect.
So, but Pat goes to therapy and tells Cliff, his therapist, that his new thing is he's going to see the silver lining in everything.
Yes.
He's going to see the good in everything. And I will just also say, I'm giving a very watered down version of this movie because there's so much nuance.
It's fine. You're saying things that I'm ready to get into,
great.
So it's great.
So Pat then, after he's released, meets a young widow who is Tiffany Maxwell, who is Jennifer Lawrence. Very well played.
J-Law.
They meet at a friend's house. Really, it's Tiffany's sister's house.
Right. Julia Stiles.
Yes. something.
10 Things I Hate About You.
Right. I
Yes.
forgot that she was in
Icon, legend.
Yeah, she was great. But it's Tiffany's sister, and Pat is friends with her husband. So it seems like they were doing like a setup. No.
Well,
I felt very
I feel like they were
vibes
like,
by
look, you know, Tiffany's a little cray cray, you're a little cray cray.
let's
Let's see.
have you guys meet and
Let's
see
see
what
if you
happens.
can support each other.
So they meet. Tiffany storms out of this dinner. She's like, Pat, you're walking me home. He's like, oh, okay, sure. I will say Pat is very blunt and very almost inappropriate in the way that he talks. Like, he's just like he's like, your husband died, so he's not here.
Right, because he was like, the friend was like, don't ask her how her husband died. And then they meet and they're like going back and forth. He goes, so how'd your husband die? And she's like, you're incredibly rude. And he was like, I'm just blunt. I'm just telling you how it is.
I just want to know. Yeah, he says some very inappropriate. Well, I don't want to say inappropriate because it's not like sexual inappropriate, but it's just.
I feel like they both had interesting social skills. That again, something I would love to talk about later.
Sure.
As well.
So as they're walking home, she offers to have sex with him, and Pat's like, no, I'm just trying to get my ex-wife back. Right. This is really important to me. I'm gonna get her back, basically.
Yeah.
A few days, weeks later, Tiffany's like, listen, I'll get a letter to Nikki for you, and I'll do this, which really they're not supposed to do because has a restraining order, so he's not supposed to do that. But in return, Tiffany's like, you have to do this dance competition with me. Like, you have to work with me. And again, I'm doing a very watered down version of what happens.
We're going to get into it. You're still, I have all these notes over here.
Okay, good. So they practice and practice and practice together. Pat's dad, Pat Sr., he is doing like illegal book betting or bookkeeping or whatever. I don't know what it is. He's like doing bets and stuff.
They're doing bets on,
So he
sports.
He loses a big bet to one of his friends, and then he decides to do like a parlay, which is like double or nothing basically. And
Gotta win 2 bets.
Yes. So the bet is that the Eagles have to win against the Dallas Cowboys, the Philadelphia Eagles, and Pat and Tiffany have to score at least a 5 average on their dance when they do this competition.
Which they're not professional dancers, if you were wondering.
No.
Yeah. And this is like Dancing with the Stars.
Yes, this is like Dancing with the Stars caliber.
But without the stars, who don't know how to dance.
Right. I wonder if they got real dancers for that last thing. They probably
feel like
did.
they did. Yeah.
So anyways, so Tiffany and Pat practice, and it's very precious, the little montage of them like practicing together.
It was, yeah.
And so after a little bit, Tiffany gives Pat this letter from Nikki and is like, here, she wrote you back. Pat reads it and it's basically saying like, I'm glad you're happy. I'm glad all these things for you, but I also like need to see you do something different, whatever. He's upset because he's very, when I say he's very focused on getting back with Nikki, like that's a severe understatement. He is very
delusional.
Yeah. Like there's a scene where like he's up one night, he wants to watch his wedding video and he like loses his fucking marbles looking for this wedding video, which we can talk about that later, but
please. Yeah.
So anyways, things transpire. Tiffany ends up at his parents' house. The dad's like, I don't like you. You're bad luck for the Eagles. And she's like, she points out every time that her and Pat have practiced this dance that they've actually won.
Read him for filth.
Read him for filth.
Absolutely.
And then the one time Pat doesn't go to see Tiffany, like he goes to the game, he gets into a fight, like tailgating, and then gets like,
we have to talk about dad because I have some concerns.
Go ahead.
Well, we can do it later. Let's get to the synopsis and go back. Yeah.
So when they're at the house, they're all talking. Tiffany's there, and Pat doesn't really want to do this dance competition anymore. He's kind of mad about it, and so Tiffany and Pat Sr. are like, well, we have to tell him Nikki's going to be there. We have to tell him.
Everybody,
we have to tell him.
it.
And the mom's like, I don't want to do that, and they're like, no, we have to tell him because otherwise he won't go. So I tell him, they're like, Nikki's going to be there. Well, when they actually go to this dance competition, she walks in with Tiffany's sister, who I guess they're friends.
The gig was up because he knew that the letter from Nikki was not from Nikki.
Yes.
He learned it was really from Tiffany.
Yes. He realizes at a certain point that there's something that Tiffany, I forget what the exact phrase, I think it's like see the signs.
See the signs or
whatever.
Something like that, yeah.
And so he realizes, but he doesn't do anything with that. He realizes, but he doesn't do anything. So they go to this dance competition. He sees Nikki. Tiffany sees Nikki with her sister because they're friends, and her sister and her husband are like, she needs to give him another chance. Like he's doing so well, and at this point in the movie, Pat is actually doing pretty well.
Yeah,
generally
we've had some bumps. He
ends up taking medications because mom makes him. But
yes.
Anyway, so then Tiffany runs to the bar. She starts drinking with a stranger. And then Pat finds them like literally like seconds before they're supposed to go out and do this dance. And so so they do this dance, which when they start, you're like, oh, this is kind of like they're doing like a serious like little like waltz or something. And then in the middle it like changes like rock music and they start like going ape
they're
shit
like
crazy.
mosh pitting. Yeah.
And it is so funny. And then like after they're done with that, they go back to like waltzing around the dance floor. So they get so the Eagles have won at this point. So like they just need to score the 5 average or whatever. And as they do this dance, it's really funny. I remember it being more cringy. I didn't think it was that cringy. I thought it was cute. Yeah, I didn't think it was that cringy.
I mean, it came out in 2012, so I was I was a teenager for sure.
I watched this when it came out.
Yeah.
And then the second time I watched it was last night.
So here we are.
I didn't think it was that cringy the second time around.
No, I think it was cute.
So they do their dance. Everybody's like, yes. They end up scoring a 5. Literal 5.
Which, did you notice? So with the scoring, like there was one of the judges on the end that kept undercutting everybody, and then she
did she?
Voted.
I didn't notice any.
Because everyone was doing like under 4, and then she did like a 5.4.
She did a 5.4, yeah.
But like on the other ones, they were doing like 7 whatever, and she did like 6.
Yeah.
So I was like, that's interesting. Yeah.
So they get their thing. Pat's whole family, Tiffany, all of them are cheering, going crazy. Everyone's like, why are they cheering for a 5? It's kind of hilarious.
Right. Which I would love. We'll talk about that later too. I had an observation. It's so funny. All these things I want to talk about, you've been talking about in your synopsis.
Oh, I love this. So after that, Pat goes up to Nikki, which he shouldn't be doing because there's an active restraining order. But he goes up to Nikki and starts talking to her. Tiffany sees, and she like runs off. And it was interesting. Did you notice Pat Sr. noticed like that she was upset,
he was watching.
And he was like, and so Pat starts talking to Nikki. Tiffany runs off. She runs into the street. And after like Pat says something to Nikki, which I always wonder.
Yeah, we don't know what he said.
Yeah, you don't know what he says. And then he runs after Tiffany, and she's like upset. She clearly really likes him, is in love with him. He hands her this letter. And she's like, why don't you give this to Nikki yourself? Like, she's here. And he's like, no, like just read the letter. And it's a letter to her saying that he basically. He didn't notice. He knew it from the day he met her, but took him so long to.
Blah 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 blah.
You're rolling your eyes. It took him so long to catch up, but they're in love.
I have feelings about the ending too.
And they kiss, and that's basically.
And then they're in love forever.
Yeah, and they show like an end scene where they're like at his parents' house watching an Eagles game with his dad. Everyone's happy.
Yeah.
The movie was nominated for a shit ton.
Oh, was it
Academy
really?
Awards, 8 total.
Didn't win any.
It only won 1, so it was. I didn't list all 8, but some of the awards were Best Picture, Best Director, Best Actor, Best Actress, Best Supporting Actor, Best Supporting Actress. So basically, all of the cast. Jennifer Lawrence was the only one to win. She won Best Actress that year.
Naturally.
And fun fact, she was the second youngest person to win an Academy Award.
Oh.
Next to oh my gosh, I forget who the other person was, but I think it was Marlee Matlin in Children of a Lesser God. I don't know.
Yeah, that sounds.
So she was the only one to win that year. I also believe that was the Oscars where she fell up the stairs.
Well,
I watched it.
You know,
happen
as one does.
She's great. She was like so embarrassed. I'll never forget that. Anyways, so that is that's Silver Linings Playbook.
So what were your just kind of general feelings about it? We'll get into specifics, but maybe especially for our pod, like mental health. What are you thinking?
Sure.
What would be a grade? Give it a grade.
I'd probably give it a B.
Okay.
Maybe a B minus.
Yeah.
I'd probably veer more on B, I think. But it's between a B minus and a B.
Okay.
Like a solid 83-ish %.
Sure. Okay.
You know, like that line between
like
B and B minus.
Okay.
Okay. What about you? I feel like I would say D.
No. I think I would go with C. I think we're at a C. We got some good things and we got some questionable things we got to talk about and figure out what's going on.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite character from it?
I mean, Jackie Weaver. I mean, the mom. She's precious little thing.
She wanted to treat him like glass. It was really interesting. I have a discussion question about that.
Oh, perfect.
Yes.
Oh, I love that.
I loved his friend from the hospital who's played by Chris Tucker.
I
think it was Danny McDaniel or Danny McDaniels, where he was got in the car with them, and then she gets the call and she's like, he has to come back. He's not actually
take him back. Yeah.
And then he does it again, basically.
Mm-hmm.
They show up at the house.
Right.
And he's like, oh, yeah, I guess I'm not. He was supposed to be holding the remotes for the dad, and it was really funny. Anyways, he was my favorite, though.
He was funny.
Yeah. So
his thing with his hair was all about the hair cut wrong.
Yes. Oh my God, him and Pat were like really good friends. It was very cute. You make friends like that in a hospital.
I mean, you do. That was one of my initial impressions of when they're in that mental institution. Like, it's pretty accurate, right? Like, you got to go to you got to get your pills handed to you, and half the time they spit them out.
Spit it out.
And
what he was doing with his tongue and stuff, that is what they do.
Right, because you have to show them.
Yes, you have to show. And so when he spit it out, I'm like, he either is doing a really good job, or I mean, it's not that hard to cheek. We call that cheeking your meds. It's not that hard to do, but like to have nobody notice, like immediately after you walk away, that you're spitting it out.
Well,
like,
also,
most people wait until they
get
to their room.
He like projectiled them across the room. Most people would like put them in their hand.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
that happened.
It does happen.
And then group therapy, they were in group therapy,
yes,
and
that was really funny. That's what it's like. I've done groups in a psychiatric hospital. It is just like that.
It is just like that.
Yep, it's exactly like that. So, I have some discussion questions.
Please.
You want to go through them?
Yeah, let's see what those...
We don't have to take very long on these.
Let's see what they lead to.
Like the first one I have is Tiffany and Pat's mother, Dolores, have different approaches to his recovery. Tiffany believes that direct confrontation is best, and Dolores wants to protect Pat from anything that might upset him. Which approach is better? So Tiffany in the movie is very like... There's a scene where like they kind of get into it at a diner. She walks out. As he's sort of like chasing her, she's screaming at everybody that he's harassing her, that, you know. And then all of a sudden the song comes on, his wedding song, which he cannot listen to. It's like My Cherie Amour or something like that. And then she kind of steps in and like, you know, basically says, oh, I'm just kidding. Like, his cops show up. It's like a whole thing. Yeah. And then she's like, are you really going to let like a song control your life, basically? Yeah. Versus the mom, who like kind of treats him like he's made of glass. Like, she does not want to upset him at all.
Mom might enable some behaviors with people.
Yeah. What do you think? Which approach is best?
I don't know. That's hard because what she did worked, because the song wasn't actually playing.
Right. He heard it in his mind.
It was just in his head. Yeah. And so like she was very direct, and she's like, there's not a song playing. But at the same time, she fucking caused all that stress because she was being
she was kind of
messy.
A bitch.
She was being messy. No, I don't think. I think, not to be, you know, the cop out answer, but you got to meet in the middle. Like, there's some times where he probably needs direct, but then you can't enable him either, like Mom did.
I think it's a mix, and knowing when to use the opposite is probably key.
Yeah.
But you shouldn't be when the mom was like, she would like did not want to upset him, and then when he was like going on his like manic state about this wedding video, and he hit his mom, like,
right.
I think that kind of pulled him together. But like the mom was just like him and his dad started like punching each other. It's not funny.
It was a mess. It was a mess.
Yeah, it was good. Okay, so both Pat and Tiffany have mental illnesses. Tiffany's is never mentioned in the movie. What do you think she has? And then what do you think his dad has? Because there's
I'm so glad you asked.
Yeah, I had to.
So I have a lot of feelings about all of these things. I know they did mention that Tiffany had depression because that was kind of the catalyst for her husband dying. Yeah, because she was very depressed. They weren't having sex, so he went to buy lingerie.
Yes.
And then he
imagine that's...
Oh, right.
You keep telling the story.
Well, so he was a cop too, so he stopped to help someone on the side road, and then he got hit by a car. Yeah. But part of him being out, like, was because of lingerie, so I'm sure she already blamed herself. But then after that, she went off the deep end.
See, I feel like she also has some type of bipolar because, like...
Oh, I think she has a personality disorder.
Oh, well, you could say that too.
Because what she did was she was fired from her job. She had sex with 11 people at work.
That doesn't sound manic to you. That sounds so manic to me.
It sounds manic, but it also sounds messy because I feel like she was doing it because then she said like people were fighting outside for me.
Yeah, that
like
did
it was
strike
like
me
an
a little
attention.
Oddly. Yeah,
like I can control you, and she was very almost like manipulative and like a psychopath because she like wrote that letter to him from Nikki.
Yeah, that bothered me a little bit.
And she would say things that like got under people's skin and would upset them. And she was she had those like mood fluctuations where like after their little date they went on, she was like crying and then she hugged him and then she slapped him like all in the span of like 4 seconds.
Yeah, that was funny.
Like that to me is more like personality.
I wondered if I sat there and I was like, the hypersexual thing made me think about bipolar because that's almost a cornerstone of that. And then I was like, well, she's depressed. She's having really low lows, like maybe. And then I thought about maybe personality. I feel like there wasn't enough on her for me to make
you have
like
to
a
go.
definitive.
Yeah, same with Pat though. I feel like I need to know more of like before
the dad.
No, Junior.
Oh,
Pat Junior.
Yeah. Yeah, they didn't talk a lot about his... You saw some of it. He definitely had I definitely think he had bipolar with
I think
psychosis
he did.
because he
Yeah.
was talking about believing that people were like, I forget what it was it people
The
were after them, or that they was
the guy that the wife cheated with,
Yeah.
they were embezzling money
that's
from
right
the
that's
school,
right yeah I was like,
and
it
they were
wasn't
going to
like,
leave him.
yeah, so
I think
they don't
well,
talk much about
and they
his
did
stuff
say
either.
he did say that he was an undiagnosed bipolar. That's what he says in therapy.
Yeah,
And that he said that he and his wife would often fight for weeks. So to me, because we've talked about bipolar
Yeah.
and how your mood is consistently
Yeah.
up, or you're consistently in that. It's not just like a
Yeah.
fleeting moment. And one of her conditions was for him to go to therapy and control his mood swings.
Yeah.
So I could definitely see him having bipolar with some psychosis for sure, because he has those delusions.
Yeah.
And some paranoia and things. But yeah,
Yeah.
as far as Tiffany, I mean, she could have had depression and then those like mood incongruent symptoms,
Yeah.
which is a specifier. Yeah, I don't know. I thought more personality for her because she
Okay.
was very manipulative and
Yeah, she had that sort of side to her.
very self-destructive. Like you said at the
Yeah.
dance, right, where she was
Yeah,
like,
she
"Oh shit, Nikki's here. I'm gonna go get drunk
with
and
this-
flirt with this guy."
yeah,
Like,
that-
what are you doing?
What about the dad?
Oh, okay.
The dad was
Mhm.
interesting.
So I don't know what you would call it. I pulled out my good old DSM to try to
did you
figure
really?
it out, because he is very superstitious about
Sure, yeah, he is.
the games, right? He's that person like you
He's
had
like
to.
holding this handkerchief.
He's got the
remotes
handkerchief.
have to be facing
People
a
have to be
certain way.
sitting in
They
certain
have to be wearing
spots.
certain things.
Yeah.
Well,
You know, he had the thing with the letters or the envelopes.
Well,
Envelopes were all numbered.
and he
Couldn't
can't
take
he
them
can't
out.
go to the games because he got kicked out of Saving because he beat up a bunch of people last
Oopsies.
time he was there,
He
which
sure
is
did.
worth mentioning.
It is worth mentioning. So I didn't know if that fell under the category of OCD or not. It's more of like a gambler's fallacy, superstition, but I don't know that you can really be diagnosed.
He only did it in terms of watching. Like, I thought the same thing. I was like, is he OCD or is
Right.
it? But he only really did it in terms of like the football games. Like, it's very, like you said,
Right.
it's very superstitious. It's very
Yeah.
like the remote has to be facing this way. Like when his friend Danny McDaniels comes before they take him back to the hospital, he has to hold the remote in like a very
Right.
certain way.
Very certain way, right.
And like Pat has to be in the house, and when
Right.
he's in the house, like they win the like. It was very
Right.
like. And then I wondered about the gambling because of he was doing the illegal bookkeeping. Like he also got fired from his job or something that the mom mentioned, but they never talk about it. And so he's doing this like illegal betting thing on the side. But he wants to open this restaurant, and then he ends up having enough money, which is when he bets it all on this
Right.
game. They lose, and then
But that's when he
right.
said that was because Pat wasn't here.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yes,
it really
yes.
was he was there, he was somewhere else. And I thought that was interesting because Dad, one, does have his own history of violence,
Yes.
which is a problem, and is not very supportive of mental health. But he puts all that pressure on Pat when when they do the parlay thing.
Yeah.
He's like, "You got to go to this game because I bet all this money, and
Yeah.
you have to make me win." What the fuck?
Yeah, it was
No,
strange.
because he's trying to open this restaurant. So basically, he had the money,
Yeah.
lost it, and then is like, "Oh, Pat, to get this back, you're going to the game. Like,
Yeah.
you're gonna actually go."
Yeah.
No. Mm-mm.
Yeah, I don't know that there's like enough for like a real diagnosis besides
Yeah.
maybe if I could see more of it like intermittent explosive, like because they never really
Yeah,
explain
for
why
sure
he
that,
beats
yeah.
the people up at the stadium. They just say he beat up like was it 11? It was a lot of people. At
It was
the
a lot,
stadium.
yeah. So yeah, I don't know. There's something there though with those because even Mom was in on it. She made the same thing every game. Did you hear it? She would say, "Oh, I made what you call them, rollies and lasagna or
Yeah,
something."
whatever it was.
Every
yeah.
time. Mom's an enabler. Mom enabled Dad
Oh,
and
yeah, she did.
and Bradley Cooper. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know that he can be diagnosed with it, but it's definitely some kind of extreme superstition. I still want to say OCD, some type of light OCD.
There's something there.
I don't know. I think there's something in the DSM that covers that, but I couldn't find it. So I don't know. But yeah, he sure is. He's problematic for sure.
Okay. I don't disagree. He is
Yeah.
a little.
Yeah.
A little. Okay. So next question. What are some of the therapies used by Tiffany for dealing with her depression and grief, and Pat Jr. for dealing with his bipolar disorder? Are the resulting gains for their health as portrayed in the movie realistic?
No.
No.
Hard pass on
hard,
that.
Hard.
No.
No.
I have such an issue with the end because it's like, it was cute. Don't get me wrong, because it was kind of like one of my observations was like, Pat and Tiffany are really in similar situations when you boil it down. Like, they lost a relationship that created significant instability in their life.
Right.
Like, Tiffany's husband died, she went off the deep end.
Yes.
Pat's wife cheated on him, he went off the deep end.
Lost his marbles.
Now, it's a little, I do have to say, a little gendered, because it's like, oh, man goes violent, woman goes slutty.
Yeah.
That's...
I didn't include questions about, like, thoughts on, like, the slut shaming.
Oh,
there's
perfect.
A lot.
Yeah.
I didn't include it, but I...
Didn't like it.
There were a lot of discussion questions based on that.
It was too, like,
that
stereotypical.
body image.
But they're both in the same boat as far as, like, they both just want to be, like, seen and validated, right? Like, he wants to be seen by his wife. She wants to be seen by just, like...
scene where he goes back to the high school and, like,
oh, my
corners
God.
the principal
And she's
pissed
like,
my
bah.
pants.
Yeah. But, like, she just wants to be validated by, like, people around her of, like, hey, I'm going through it.
Yeah.
So they're both spending all this time trying to find that validation when really they end up, like, in the end validating themselves. And that's when they realize, like, oh, we're more alike. They fall in love. But then it's like all their problems go away. And that I wasn't okay with.
Well, and here's the other, like, I'm with you 100%. The other thing is, like, so they both do, like, physical stuff. Like, she does the dance.
Right.
Like, that's her, I would say, number one thing, because she never talks about any other thing. And then Pat, like, runs every day, and he's just like, I'm not going to take my meds, which I've a big issue with. Also, he was on, like, a redonkulous...
Oh, I wrote down all the medications.
Yeah, it was lithium, Seroquel, and something else, I think.
So... when they were at dinner, it was so funny because they were talking about their meds. And so he said he had tried lithium, which we have talked about on the bipolar episode, which is a mood stabilizer. Seroquel, which is an antipsychotic, though is used as a mood stabilizer mostly. And Abilify, which is also an antipsychotic, but tends to treat more mood instability as far as, like, irritability, which I also read, because I looked this up. They also use it to treat irritability for people who have autism and Tourette's.
Oh, interesting.
So, the more you know. So, he said he had tried those, and I thought that was pretty legitimate based on what we know.
It looked like the pill he took in the beginning, or the pills that he was given. One of them was Seroquel by the
One
mom.
of them,
I think the other one was lithium.
I think it was lithium. I looked it up. The only thing, though, is we didn't see him going to the doctor to get his lithium levels checked, which you got to do. You got to do. You got to do it.
And they don't show her taking any meds or anything.
No, but she said she had been on Xanax, which is a sedative benzo for anxiety and panic, right? Which, not great, not great. As well as Effexor, which is an SNRI used for depression. So that one seems legit. Xanax, if she's like cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, a lot of times that's legit. Like when people are more like how she was, they will try to sedate them. I was
gonna say, did she have that when her husband first died? Because, like, that would make sense.
Right,
to me. Like,
that's what I was
maybe
assuming.
to get through a funeral or get through like a week or something like that. But yeah, they wouldn't ever. Yeah, I just didn't think Pat's like, I'm gonna work out, and he runs like every day with his garbage bag over himself so he'll sweat more. Because it sounds like he was overweight.
He was overweight. Yeah, they kept saying he lost weight,
and that he lost all this weight, and
But I think that's where they were very different. Is like he was trying to be very positive, right? Like he was, even I would say he was in that positive toxicity level where he's like, I'm gonna find a silver lining in everything.
Yeah.
And she was basically like, fuck that, everything sucks, right? So they were so different in that regard.
Right, it's so true, yeah.
Other honorable mentions for the medication, just to finish that list out. They also talked about how they had used Klonopin, which is also a sedative and a benzo. And trazodone, which they pronounced Trazodone.
Justin turned to me and he's like, is that how you pronounce it? And I said, no.
It's very much not.
No.
Which is an SARI.
Okay.
A serotonin antagonist. And it is used to treat depression, but I've seen it for sleep. I've seen it prescribed in our office for sleep.
I always see it for sleep.
So I think, I mean, medication-wise, all that relatively makes sense, I suppose. Yeah. But as far as treatments, well, can we talk about the psychologist?
You want to?
I have a lot of thoughts.
Okay, sure.
Not helpful.
I kind of liked him. I thought it was kind of funny.
No.
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 Maybe I identified with him because that's kind of how I did therapy in the prison. It was kind of like, no.
But I feel like my big thing was he kept telling him, like, you need to have a plan when you're triggered. But then never helped him. Yeah. Never gave him any ideas. He was just like, you need to figure it out.
Yeah, that did bother me. It wasn't like, when you hear this song, maybe you need to do square breathing. Or
right.
Maybe
no, he's like, you need to figure it out or you're going back to the hospital.
Yeah. I didn't like that part, but like he was very
I have more.
He was, okay.
Mental health advice 345. If someone isn't okay, don't ask them first thing if they've taken their meds.
Oh yeah, that was bad too. That was funny.
Even in this case where like he needs to be taking his meds, we can't do that.
Oh god, it was so
And
funny.
then to top it all off, when they're at the football game,
oh yeah, I did not like the football game thing.
and the psychologist pops in there because he's there too.
Yeah.
So what do they do? What do they do, Jackie? Tell us what they do.
Well, Pat goes up to him first and is like,
right.
Cliff, you're here, blah blah blah. And he's like, I'm just like another person. Like I'm not your therapist.
Wrong.
They hug.
Wrong.
And then like they like kind of hang out a little bit.
They hang out. They drink.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. They sure do.
I did not like that part. I was like, oh no. And then after the football game, he's like at the parents' house.
Oh no, you skipped part. The physical altercation.
Oh yeah,
yes.
yeah. So there's some racist people who come up because the doctor is Indian, and there's a bunch of them like with
hanging out
the
together.
doctor friend, and then Pat's brother goes up to them and starts fighting them, and then Pat's like, I can't, and then he starts fighting them. Yeah. And
then went to Pat's home after.
I did find that weird. I was like, he's sitting in the background of the home scene, and I was like, why is he still here? I was like, why is he still here? If you're not gonna intervene, then leave.
Right.
Like,
so many boundaries.
Yeah, there was a lot of yelling, and he didn't do anything about it.
Yeah. So I don't feel like he was very effective as a psychologist or therapist, whatever he was.
I really liked his bluntness.
He seemed fine. He was fine.
When he was talking, he was like, "No, you can't do that. No."
There were a lot of things that I was like, "Oh, we don't do that. Oh no, we don't do that.
Yeah.
We don't tell just people."
The football one, the football thing was rough. He
Yeah.
shouldn't have hung out with Pat and his family, basically, or his friends, or whoever they were.
Yeah.
Okay, I have two more, and then we can take a break.
Let's take a break. Yeah.
And then
get to the rest of things.
So this might be controversial. I'll be interested in your opinion. Note how the term crazy is used in this film to describe and sometimes self-describe characters with mental health conditions. Is the use of this term humorous, sometimes harmful, or always harmful? Are there any examples of humor in this film which are harmful to persons living with mental health conditions? What's your opinion on the word crazy? I have to know.
It's the intent. I'm an intent person. I don't believe any word is bad. Like not to get canceled by saying this, I'm sure. But
I bet you and I think the same thing. I'm
like,
about ready to listen to what you have to say because I think you and I think the same thing.
Like people who say like I'm gonna unalive myself, or people who unalive that, like, just, it's okay. Like if you're telling someone go kill yourself and you really mean it, that's not okay.
Right.
But like if you're just saying like, oh, kill themselves, like it's all about the intent behind these things. So like I don't think. There are very few words I'm like, oh, you shouldn't say that. Like the R word, okay, don't say that.
Yeah.
Like the N word, okay, don't say that.
Yes, yeah.
But like, we've probably said that's crazy on this podcast so many times.
You and I think the same. I'm also the same way, and also, it's interesting because a lot of people ask me this. Well, I say a lot of people. People have asked me this question. They're like, "Do you say the word crazy?" And I was like, "Yeah, I say it all the time." Have I ever used it to describe somebody, like a patient of mine? No, but I've been like, their behaviors are crazy.
Sure.
Like, and to me, crazy means wild. It doesn't mean like insane or clinically like you have a mental health issue. To me, it's like, and someone's like, oh, I drove my car and I like flipped it off a bridge, and you'd be like, wow, that's crazy. Like, I've never, like, I don't know. I also think words are words. And so I think people take words to, with the exception, there's lots of exceptions, like you mentioned, the R word, the N word. But I think there's a lot of words that people take and they get really, I don't know what I would say, but I think they get up in arms about stuff that I don't think is really that big of a deal. I don't know. I just don't think it's that big of a deal. Personally, I just don't think it's that big of a deal.
No.
I mean, if you have an issue with it, that's one thing, but I have never been like, oh, that client is so crazy.
No, I would never.
But I've been like, oh, he's acting a little crazy today. And then I'd be like, he's throwing his poop around and he's rolling on the floor and like that. But I've never been like, Kyle is crazy. But
and you wouldn't go up to that your patient and be like, why are you being fucking crazy right now? Like,
I have said that, but
well, I mean, again, but it's,
I worked in a prison,
but it's the intent. Like you're not using it a derogatory, like to put them down.
No,
it's more of like we have this relationship and I can say that to you.
Right. And I wouldn't say to everybody, I would only say to the people that I could say that to. But in this movie, it's really up to them. Like if they want to describe themselves as crazy, or if they want to say they're crazy,
why not?
It's fine. Like if that's how you describe yourself. If you come to therapy with me and you're like, I'm crazy, I will use that word because that's the word that you use.
Absolutely.
Whether I agree with that description of yourself or not, but I think it also, I don't know, in some ways I feel like it's empowering to people who it's like, oh, let me just take this word and like make it not mean anything. I mean, and I won't be upset by it.
That happens all the time. I mean, look at the N word. Like, people of color say that word because they've taken it back. And like that's something they say. Like, the F word for gay people. Like,
Yeah.
now we say that all the time.
Yeah.
Like, this happened. Like, we change words, we take them back. So it's like words only have power if you give them that power.
Right.
And it can either be a degrading power or an empowering power.
Right. And
hashtag empowering power.
Yeah. Empowering power.
So yeah, we'll probably get canceled for feeling this
I'm
way.
sure.
But I don't know.
I don't have an issue with the word. I've never had an issue with the word crazy. I've never been like, oh, you can't say that.
Now I think in the show there were times where like I'm thinking like Tiffany would, when she was, you know, going off.
Yeah.
She would be like, I'm just fucking crazy. But like I just feel like that was her having a moment. She needed to say it, and we moved on.
You can say that if you're talking about like.
But then like the dad, he many times was like, why are you being so crazy? Like, okay, well maybe that's not helpful right now.
No, and that was not the right choice in that moment. But
sure.
He was so interesting. I really liked that character too.
He got okay by the end. He made some he righted some wrongs.
He did. Last question that is, you and I have no basis for this, but we can just pretend. Some parents to children with mental health conditions, much like Betsy, sometimes feel as if they must have failed their child. What is the role of social stigma directed at mental health and silencing parents like Pat Sr. from communicating more openly with their affected children and from reaching out for help from outside their home?
Oh, I love that question. I love
you
that
and I are
question.
Not parents, so
no, spoiler alert. That may surprise many of our many of the readers out there. I love this because I think a lot of times with my patients that are parents, I have to like coach them and be like, I hear you blaming yourself. I get that. Like, well, I don't get it as a parent, but like in your head, I get that. However, you have to realize the psychology behind humans.
Right.
Personal experience is far more powerful than parenting.
Yeah.
And we know this is true because you have shitty parents that have great kids, and you have great kids that have shitty you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, so parenting is like half the battle.
Yeah.
Like, once there's a certain age and they start having those personal experiences, there's very little you can do.
Yeah.
Like, it kind of is. So, I think the question is true in that society does look at that and go, oh, well, you did something to your kid.
Yeah.
Or
what's wrong with like
you as a parent, right? Yeah. Which now I think we can take a step back and say, okay, mom enables, so mom needs to work on boundaries. Dad needs to break down the boundaries a little bit, right? So like Pat kind of had both extremes there, but it's one piece of the puzzle. One piece of the puzzle.
And at least for reaching out, like, it's, again, I hate to make it like a generational thing.
Yeah.
But like I think some of that is generational. Like,
sure.
I don't know exactly which generation it is, but I mean, I would say anybody who is probably 50 and older. Sorry, Greg. Like, I would, like, that generation didn't really talk about mental health stuff. Like, you didn't have that. Like,
right.
You know, it was, you didn't cry. You didn't, you know, boys don't cry.
Right.
It was all these things. And I think now, I would say from like, I don't know, millennial on, maybe, I feel like it's more accepting to like reach out for help and like go outside of your home. But like, even talking to my mom who is over 60, I mean, it was just like, you know,
you just didn't do that.
You didn't talk about that kind of stuff. You never really like.
Well, I think it's the Puritan value of like, what is it? Spoil the rod, spoil the child, or something like that.
Spare the rod, spoil the child.
Spoil them all.
I don't know that
well, Puritan.
Side note,
Puritan
have you ever seen the Puritan Valentines? They're so funny. I'll show you.
I'm sure you probably.
I've posted them.
But I think it is. I think the older generations. I would say Gen X.
Yeah,
that's after millennials. Like that's probably because I know I have some Gen X parents that are kind of half and half with it. So it's probably the boomers that are definitely. But it is because it's the idea of like, oh, if I go and seek help for you, it's going to be put onto me as the parent, because that was the view.
Yeah.
But I think these days we know that it's not, especially as your kids when they're adults.
Well, and it's.
Are you kidding? I can't even control myself. You think my mom can tell me what to do?
I'm so hard to control. No one can control me.
Right.
No, I think I don't know. I think a lot of it is a generational thing.
Yeah.
And this movie was 2012, so his parents are probably in their 60s. They're probably born in the 40s.
Yeah.
I mean, they're boomers. I don't know. I just think.
Yeah.
it didn't surprise me that they were very like, especially the dad
Yeah.
was very like, go back in your house. Like there's this kid who keeps
Right.
showing up at the door to like film and like get
Yeah.
an interview with Pat, and like Robert De Niro is like, get the fuck away from
Get
here.
the fuck
like,
right.
like
Follows him home,
yeah.
goes to his house. He fucking comes over to my house again. Yeah.
The parents like, sorry.
Sorry, so sorry. Yeah.
But I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, there is still a lot of stigma. I mean, it's not like
There is. There
there's
is,
still
but I
stigma.
think, yeah, that's where I do coach a lot of the parents to be like, I get it. Like, you do feel like that failure. However,
Yes.
like, let's take that step back and,
Yeah.
this isn't what you taught your child. Like, now, if you taught your child to be this way, okay, well, that's on
Sure.
you. But no one does that. And I think
Yeah.
especially in this instance, like, when you're talking about bipolar disorder, that's a very largely genetic
I was gonna
base.
say, there's
Like,
a
that's not
very-
really a learned
There's so many
stuff.
genetic and that doesn't
Yeah.
necessarily mean it's from your parents. I mean, it can
Oh,
it can
yeah.
skip generations
Yeah.
and all of that. So, but
That's a good question. I was really nice.
yeah, I was like, oh, well, I'm fine with that. But
Yeah.
let's take a break.
Let's take a break. We'll do a deep
Yes,
dive into the
sure.
rest of the movie. We'll be right back. And welcome back.
We're back. Okay, Kyle, it's your turn.
You
have thoughts.
I do have some thoughts, but really, as I told you off the air, really your synopsis got to really everything
I would love that for me.
that I wanted to talk about. But there were a couple just quick honorable mentions. The first one, Bradley Cooper did have a neckbeard.
He did.
And I was really okay with it. Normally I wouldn't be.
His hair in the back of his head was very long.
It was
too.
very
Did you notice
interesting.
that? It was,
yeah.
it was
little
very...
rat tail back there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not like indicative of like a psychiatric facility, because usually they'll cut their hair like every week.
Yeah.
But
not really sure what
I
that
didn't
was
hate
about.
it either.
No, didn't hate it. Didn't hate it at all. The other thing I wanted to, and this is kind of like real therapy, I guess, like therapist. I felt like the dance competition was a metaphor for
what?
mental health, because so Pat and Tiffany both suffer from mental illness, and so they represent in this dance competition like the real world, where they're quote unquote like having to be involved in this dance competition, kind of like how people with mental health have to be in this world that's not created for people who have mental health, and they don't have a choice to not participate, right? They have to. And then you had mentioned like they were being all judged and looked at like why are they here, like why are they so happy about a 5, right? And it's
so funny.
I think that was a good metaphor, because sometimes people with mental health are striving for a 5.
Yeah.
And so
true.
like it teaches that perspective of like everybody's functioning is different. So like them getting that 5 and being excited, like there was a lot of meaning behind that for them that other people didn't realize.
Yeah.
And so same thing with mental health. Like if somebody's like, wow, I got up and showered today, and like you're like, what the fuck? Like I do that every day. Well, some people really struggle with that. So
it's very meta of
mind
you.
your fucking business. Well, I like to think I'm pretty cool.
I did not make that connection.
Well, some of us pull our weight around here, and some of us don't. I don't know what to tell you.
So true. Even though I did actually prepare for this episode and
I know,
actually watch the movie, which
that
is
was
shocking
literally the
enough.
first question I asked you was, so did you watch the
movie?
movie, or did you just look stuff up? And you're like, I watched it.
Yeah. Watched it last night. Yep.
So those were the only things that. Oh, I did mention.
There's one thing that I noticed in the movie, and I want to know if you noticed it too.
Please.
And I'm sure it had some sort of significance, but I don't know what. I can guess. So in the beginning of the movie, when Pat goes back to his parents' house, because that's where he lives, there's a picture of him and his brother that are on the wall, but his picture is not on the wall. It's on like the little dresser under it. And at the end of the movie, when he sort of gets better, it goes back up on the wall.
Oh, sure.
Did you notice that?
I did.
I'm like, that's really. I'm like, is this like a?
Well, I'm sure when everything happened, I'm sure the dad felt some type of way, like you were saying with the parenting, and probably like maybe he slammed it down there or something. Or maybe he ripped it off the wall in his anger, and maybe mom kind of like put it back.
Yeah.
But knew that she couldn't put it up, so she just put it back. I could definitely see that being why.
It was like high school glamour shots.
Because we didn't really talk about that, but the brother was very like...
had his shit together, basically.
Well, but even the dad said like, I didn't spend enough time with you, Pat, because the other brother was like the golden child.
Yeah, yeah.
So I'm sure that played into the dynamics we didn't really talk about.
No, I did not speak much on the brother. The brother has like I don't want to say the perfect life, but he's married, he's got a good job.
Right.
Like, and him and Pat, like, they talk, and it looks very tense. It's like a very sort of tense interchange. And then all of a sudden, Pat's like, I got nothing for love with you, bro.
I know.
And I'm like, and I thought he was
I think it was, no, I think it was genuine. And then, of course, the mom's in the back, like,
she's like crying.
Yeah. I'm like, oh my God.
She's
Icon. Jackie Weaver.
She's so great.
Love it. So, yeah, no. So, would you change your grade after we've talked about it? What do you think?
No, I still think it's like a B,
yeah.
Almost a B.
I agree.
B,
yeah.
almost B minus.
Yeah, I would say it. I
will say, like I said it before, the scene where he's like really manic looking for that wedding video. I mean, that's a pretty accurate portrayal of what like sort of a very shortened version of like a manic episode would look like.
Yes.
The irritability, like the preoccupation,
the fixation,
like, and then he like chucks something out the window and he
but
breaks
for
the
a
window.
manic phase, think like that's just every day for many days,
for like weeks.
Not just that
could be weeks.
moment.
Yeah. I thought that was pretty accurate. I thought like him not wanting to take meds was a very accurate portrayal because a lot of people who have mental health issues, I'm not trying to pigeonhole, but a lot of them don't want to take meds or don't like to take meds.
Especially this kind of like
they feel foggy. It makes them tired. Like everything that Pat said in that movie, that's a very accurate like.
I mean, who doesn't want a good manic phase? I mean, you get shit done. Well, sometimes. Depends on how strong it goes. But like, yeah.
You're gonna like completely rearrange your whole house or like.
Right.
Yeah. No, I think the portrayals in a lot of ways were accurate. I think I'm with you though. The more I think about it, after you talked about like Tiffany sort of being like personality disorder-esque, like she kind of she had that sort of line of like I can help or I can hurt. Yeah, she used her stuff for she towed it. She used it mostly to help him, but there were several scenes in the movie where she was not helpful. She was like the opposite of that. Manipulative. So I don't know that I love them as a couple. Like in the end, like I don't know that. I mean, like in some ways, I think they're well suited for each other in terms of like they understand a different part of themselves that maybe their previous partners didn't understand. But I also feel like that could be a really unhealthy dynamic.
They're either going to be all great or all not great.
Right. It's so black and white.
In reality.
And so I would love to see a sequel. I mean, not really, but I mean, it'd be really interesting. Like they're like, they got married at some point. Now they're divorcing or whatever. But like,
well, now we didn't mention. You said this was a book.
This is a book that I didn't know existed until literally today.
So I wonder if there's more like background info.
You know,
if we were to
telling Kyle off air that I was looking at discussion questions, and when I was reading some of them, I was like, "Oh, this didn't happen." That's when I realized it was a book, mostly because the names didn't 100% match up, and I was like, "Wait, what?"
Like, what am
the mom's. I think the mom's name in the book is different than what it was in the movie, but. Yeah, so I'd be really interested, and I'm going to add it to my list of books to read, because I would be interested to see if there was a little bit more. Seemed like there was a little bit more. There was some sort of scene at Christmas, because there was a whole discussion question based on that, and I read it, and I was like, what? I'm like, there was no, like, Christmas, like, I mean, there was a Christmas scene, there was a montage.
It was just, like, right before they went to
that was the dance thing was, like, right before Christmas.
They were just drinking.
It sounds like there was some family discussion because they were talking about an aunt and something like that. So
interesting.
Like,
okay.
So I did take some of those questions, but Taylor.
Maybe we'll do a book review at some point.
Yeah, maybe when we get there.
So at some point.
So yeah.
So yeah, I think I would recommend. I
would recommend.
Yeah.
I think it stands the test of time. Also, it's a 10+ year old movie. Didn't find it too. There was not anything really.
No, I thought it was great. I think it's not one of those. I'm like, oh god, the TikTokers made this. Don't watch it. Like it's not one of those.
It's so I get why it was nominated for all those awards, and I understand. You know, Jennifer Lawrence does do a really good job, and I think maybe Robert De Niro.
Every time he went on a run by her house, and she just popped out of nowhere.
It was so funny.
She's like, "What are you doing?"
He's like,
He's like, "How do you know when I run?"
Well,
she's like, "I'm running too."
Yeah, and she would like run behind him. Yeah, it was really good stuff. Okay, well that is Silver
Linings Playbook.
So okay. You ready for a Would You Rather?
Of course.
It's sort of a movie edition, sort of.
Okay. Of all the movies you've ever watched, which is a very, very short list.
It's actually not that short. I actually didn't pull all
that
these
Princess Diaries or whatever you were telling me about.
I did watch that. And I know the answer to this question immediately as soon as I read it. I know exactly what you're going to say. But I included it because it was on a thing of like Would You Rather questions. So would you rather be in a reality show or win an Oscar?
Well, I mean, it has to be Oscar, but what's the Oscar for? That's movies, right?
Win an Oscar.
Well, I mean, like movies are Oscars.
Oscar, as movies.
Okay, yeah.
Academy Awards, yeah.
I'm
saying I'd rather win an Oscar. I think. I feel like I also know the answer to this, but would you rather attend Hogwarts or go to Narnia?
Oh, Hogwarts. Sure.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, absolutely.
I didn't. I wasn't. Did you read the Chronicles of Narnia
Yeah, I did.
as a kid?
Yeah, they were
I
kind of.
didn't love it.
Yeah.
I think I read one.
The movies are better.
I never watched movies. I read the
Yeah,
book.
me
I read
neither.
the first book, I think, and I
Well,
never got into it.
They're euphemisms for the Bible. You know that, right?
No,
Yeah.
maybe that's why I didn't like it. As a child.
'Cause
I
you're a
read the
demon.
first. I think I read the first one, and I was
Yeah,
the
like
demon seed.
yeah, Aslan's god, and yeah.
I read it.
all
And it
that.
just didn't grab me. I was like,
No.
I don't like this.
I mean, Adam. The guy's name's Adam.
I don't even remember.
Evelyn,
I read it
right,
when I was like
Eve.
probably 10.
Oh, okay. Well,
Next one, I also feel like
Hogwarts.
I know your answer.
wait. What house are you in? Hold on.
Me?
Yeah.
I'm a Gryffindor.
Oh my god.
I know
Okay.
you're a
I'm
Slytherin.
Slytherin.
Here.
Absolutely, yeah.
I used to be a Ravenclaw for a long time,
That's
and then
more acceptable.
I took the quiz when I was an adult, and I was like, oh, I'm a Gryffindor.
Oh.
Love it.
Okay. Moving on.
Judgmental face. I also know the answer to this one for you. Would you rather be a wizard like Harry Potter or a vampire like Edward Cullen?
Ooh, that's actually a hard one.
Maybe I don't know your answer, but I feel like I know your answer.
Do you mean like a wizard in Harry Potter? Not like.
Would you be like a
Harry
wizard
Potter.
like Harry Potter or a vampire
Oh.
like Edward Cullen?
I mean, I
You're
think
not
I'd rather
Harry
be a
Potter.
wizard, but I think it'd be cool to be a vampire too.
I would do a vampire 100%.
Yeah.
I would
Can I
wanna
be a
live
vampire wizard? That'd
forever.
be cool.
Yeah, probably.
I just don't want to be like Harry Potter. I think he's lame.
Don't you think there could have been vampire wizards in Harry Potter?
Oh,
I mean,
I'm sure-
truly, like you.
I'm sure there were.
There were so many
vampires.
mythical. Yeah, there were so
There
many
were vampires.
mythical things. Okay. Would you rather be a character in a Disney or a Pixar movie?
Pixar.
Same.
Yeah.
This is really
Pixar.
boring. Of a would you
I
rather
know.
for us.
I know.
I love this.
Sorry,
Okay.
everyone.
Last one. This one's an interesting one. Would you rather eat overly salty popcorn every time you're at the movies, or never eat popcorn again?
Oh, honey, give me that salt. I don't
That's
care.
what I feel like.
Yeah,
I hardly ever go to the
I
movies,
love
but
salty.
I don't think I could never not eat popcorn again.
Yeah,
It's
no,
a good snack.
I'm a salty. Like everyone's like, oh, I have a big sweet tooth. I don't, but salty. Yes, please. So yeah,
Just load
salt.
up the butter,
Yeah,
the liquid
love
butter.
popcorn.
That's my would you rather questions.
Well,
They weren't
sorry
very good.
everyone.
A real flop.
Not much of a get to know you because it's we're the same person basically.
Yeah,
There you go.
there were
What do you
so
know?
many geared towards like Harry Potter. I didn't want to
Yeah,
take one. There was I wish I could think of it. There was another one that I was like, oh, that's interesting, but it wasn't like one was like, would you rather be like a Jedi or something else that I couldn't pronounce? I didn't know what it was.
A Sith.
No, it's like a Sauron, Sauron. Sauron. I don't know what that is. That's Star Wars. I mean Star Trek.
Could be Lord of the Rings.
Oh,
Oh.
I'm looking.
Saurion?
Yeah, it's Lord of the Rings. I think.
Okay. Yeah, like a follower of Sauron.
Yeah, I didn't know what that was.
Obviously Jedi.
I figured that's what you would say, so
Yeah.
that's why I didn't include it. I was like, I already know. Is the title character and primary antagonist through forging of the One Ring?
Sauron.
So,
the
yeah.
guy with the
Yeah.
Have you ever seen it?
No, I've never seen it before, but
Yeah, of
I'm
course
looking
you
at the picture.
haven't.
Lord of the Rings is something I do want to get into. I just have never actually sat down and watched it. They're like 5-hour movies.
No, because you're too busy rewatching The Office probably 400 times a day. Please don't start quoting it. We're ending. Thank you. Goodbye, everybody. See you next episode. I could see it in your eyes.
Like,
Mm-hmm.
sorry, I know you killed my friendship.
I hate this podcast so much.
Well, everyone, on that note, everyone stay tired.
And petty.